This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is the quarterback over at Kaiser Research, Mr. John Kaiser. John, twice in a month. It's great to have you back on. How are you today?
Gerardo, it's great to be back on the show with you.
Well, listen, we joked a bit off air. Wheeze is smart again, at least for the time being. Gold appears to want to break to new record highs. The copper futures price broke a new all-time high today. That seems poised to go higher. We chatted a bit off air about some of our favorite names, and a lot of those are up, 30, 40, 50% here easily in the last couple of weeks. And look, there seems to be momentum across the space. So I want to get your thoughts on companies specifically that you like, and a few that had some news here recently. But I got to get your take on the overall markets. We've been waiting for this kind of market for quite some time, and it seems like it's happening in unison across the space.
Yeah, it's a very strange market. We have a situation where the U.S. debt's going to keep rising without really doing that much productive for the country. We have these Liberation Day resuming on August 1st with high tariffs. We have this bizarre idea of a 50% import tax on copper. And what you mentioned earlier about the copper futures, well, those are the COMEX futures for what American manufacturers will have to pay. Everybody else in the world is still going to be paying like $4.40 a pound what it costs to get it delivered from the Shanghai or LME warehouses. And I don't see how punishing the effort to reshore manufacturing to America by introducing a copper tariff makes any sense, because even if you find another resolution and suspend all permitting requirements, you're 7 to 10 years before you see new production. But one of the things I am starting to see is these permitting agencies that have historically been under the thumbs of the not in my backyard anti-mining lobby. They're finally having the freedom to do what they're supposed to be doing, and the opposite of what health insurance companies do, which is to deny and delay. So we're starting to see progress on exploration permits, and that's the big thing that's needed for the United States. As far as gold is concerned, I see that we're getting closer to the point where the market's going to stop fearing that gold's going back below $2,000, that this is yet another price bubble similar to what the palladium, cobalt, lithium, all these other metals, and even gold itself has done in the past decade. And frankly, we don't really need gold to do much at all. All it needs to do is stay stable and convince the market that it's undergone a fundamental repricing that reflects a new reality where America is now alone against every other nation in both the global West and in the global East and in the global South. So all of this is creating a really good vibe for being focused on gold juniors, but the need to get production sourced in America, or at least in friendly neighbors, that's also going to be lighting a fire under the juniors, and they're just starting to wake up to this new reality.
Well, let's talk about a junior that had some news this week, and it's a great segue because I just had the pleasure of interviewing the CEO, Caleb Strope. I'm speaking, of course, of Headwater Gold. Headwater Gold did a really, really, really intelligent I don't want to call it a pivot, but they employed a strategy that was brilliant and ahead of its time. Many years ago, they decided they were going to come into the Western United States and look for quality projects in top-notch jurisdictions here in the U.S. And they've done a brilliant job of bringing in a lot of projects. I had the pleasure of interviewing Brent Cook a couple of weeks back, and I asked him why he decided to jump on the advisory board there, because he doesn't do that very often. And he spoke about how technically astute the team was and how he was on a site visit, and it just stood out to him the type of work they were doing to delineate their targets and to advance them to get a lot of those properties to the drilling stage. So it did not surprise me this morning when I had a news release saying that Headwater Gold and OceanaGold have signed a letter of intent to explore 3 projects in Nevada. That I expected because I know they're great at advancing projects and getting them to a drill ready stage. What did surprise me was the potential staged exploration expenditures totaling up to 65 million US. And so when we talk about juniors and the potential upside, Headwater's market cap is nowhere near that. And mind you, they have other deals with other majors. Can you speak to Headwater a bit and your take on the deal and just where we are in, if we want to use baseball parlance, where we are in the ball game as it relates to the juniors and the price appreciation?
So Headwater Gold has an excellent team headed by Caleb Strube, and they're part of my bottom fish collection. And the reason I haven't booted them upstairs into the favorites collection is because this news release that came out today is a key missing piece. Now the company focused on Western United States with an emphasis on Nevada and an emphasis on epithermal gold-silver systems, as opposed to the more difficult Carlin-type systems, most of which prospective land is now dominated by the Barrick-Newmont Nevada Gold joint venture. And they did a fantastic deal similar to what this one with OceanaGold is outlined as several years ago with Newcrest. And Newcrest is the Australian company that has developed a special interest in epithermal gold-silver system. And what Caleb's team had been doing was scouting out all these old sinters and systems where there's nothing really much at surface. Has been poked around with some shallow holes to see if there's anything there, but they're using the models of how do these systems work, and they've been pursuing this strategy of not just stake this thing and pitch it to majors and punt all the drilling costs to someone else. They actually drill several scout holes to firm up the target. And they hope to, of course, get lucky with the first ones, but most of the time they're just building geological context, which creates the basis for a more extensive vectoring program. And the Newcrest was into that, but when Newcrest got absorbed by Newmont, that was a bit of a bummer because Newmont has a much larger style of deposit in mind. But they did keep the Spring Peak Lodestar project next to the Aurora system, where Caleb's team has developed an interesting theory about what may have been all the historic production there and to the western California and Bodie is actually secondary to a sort of undercover hidden major system. And that seemed to have attracted the interest of Newmont. But, their treasury is not super strong. Newmont dropped all the other projects. Some of them they simply had to. One of them, the one I think it's Midas North or something like that, it turned out that had to go into the Barrick Newmont joint venture because it was in that area of interest. So that's one they had no choice about dropping out. But this has been a bit of a pall for headquarters. Like, we don't have a huge treasury. We can't just keep drilling these scout holes. We need to have a major back in there. So this OceanaGold development today, and of course, most of those big expenditures are way down the road. It's the first $2.5 million that they need to spend over the next year on these 3 projects that they've optioned. That's the key thing, because that's going to tell them more about what the Headwater has already outlined about these systems and create the basis for stepping up much more aggressive drilling. So this means Headwater is now exposed to multiple, we get lucky early drill holes by OceanaGold on these prospects. And that, of course, strengthens the market's appetite for it. And I'm hoping to see the stock get up into the 50 cents range, where my bottom fish club has, made their 200% gain, and where I can now see, hey, and given the context of the big market we were talking about earlier, we can see this thing turning into a $1 to $2 stock focused on Western United States with an emphasis on Nevada, with the permitting agencies relaxing some of their pigheadedness that they've had in the past in terms of approving exploration programs. So, but keep in mind, this is a non-binding letter of intent, but it looks like they've worked out so many details that the only thing that can derail this is some weird legal thing.
Yeah, no, listen, and they have a portfolio of excellent properties. I suspect that Caleb and the team will continue to work out deals in this manner where, as you mentioned, shareholders retain quite a bit of upside on any discovery, while mitigating dilution here over several years. Before I let you go, John, I have to get you to tell us where we can find your Substack. Of course, we know about Kaiser Research. .com, John Kaiser Research, or Kaiser Research, I should say. But you have a Substack as well, and you were kind enough to comp me a membership for a week here recently, and it's per usual, right? Truly fascinating stuff. I love the big picture views that you have, and I love how you're able to go big and then kind of break it down, right? Where can they find that?
Yeah, so Kaiser Research, I think .substack.com is this new place. It's a parallel product to my $450 a year, do-it-yourself research thing where we also incubate the bottom fish collection. But what I do here is I put out sort of generic articles, general interest articles that are always free. And then on the favorites, bottom fish that get kicked upstairs because the story's finally coming together, I'll do an article, an update, or an introductory piece. And I'll send enough of a preview to everybody who signed up for the free version so they get a rough idea of what's going on. And this only costs $10 a month or $100 a year. It's really my strategy to get a younger generation of audience, the millennials, the Gen Z, who somehow never really got their heads around the resource junior sector, and boomers like myself. Well, I'm at the younger end of the boomer generation, but they're kind of retiring and losing interest. So this whole space needs a huge educational platform. So I recommend everybody sign up at least for the free version and watch this evolving bull market. I don't think pigs and turkeys will be flying until 27, 28, which means the rest of this year and next year is going to be a place where looking at the decent companies, the real companies, the headwaters, the ones who actually are put real value, put creators, this is where these ones are going to be waking up. Not all at once. They're going to be doing it in stages. This is perhaps the best time to look at this junior resource sector in the past decade.
I couldn't be more excited. We wait many years to get, the type of markets and the type of macro setup that we have now. This one looks truly unique in the 17 years I've been in the space. And no, I'm ready for it and positioned for it, as I know you are. John, always a pleasure. Looking forward to having you back on. Thank you so much for your time.
Gerardo, thank you, and I look forward to the next time.
Cheers now. Hey everybody, Gerardo Del Real here. If you're enjoying the content that you just saw, you can let us know in 3 simple steps. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and please share across your network and on social media. Take care, everybody.